5 NBA players whose careers were destroyed by injuries. My name is Josh, or Envyerz. I decided to keep this just to 5 because there's hundreds of players whose careers were ruined or altered by their injuries. So these are all just of my recent memory in no particular order, starting with Tracy McGrady. When Tracy McGrady was first with the Toronto Raptors, his first 2 seasons were really nothing special. It wasn't until he left the Toronto Raptors for the Orlando Magic in his 4th year in the NBA where he became an all-star and a future legend. In his 5th season in the NBA, he was able to drop 32 points per game at the age of 23, which is kind of crazy. But the team I remember Tracy McGrady for the most is the Houston Rockets, and ultimately this is where Tracy McGrady's career kind of went downhill in a sense. Simply due to multiple injuries from his back to his knee to his shoulder, he just couldn't recover from these major injuries. After the Rockets, he bounced around with the New York Knicks, the Detroit Pistons, and the Atlanta Hawks, and had a stint with the San Antonio Spurs where he actually made it out of the first round having a bench role. In his prime, Tracy McGrady was often compared to Kobe Bryant, but if you take a look at the careers, they're completely different. Tracy McGrady retired at the age of 32 while Kobe ended up playing 20 years with the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh, what could have been if Tracy McGrady was able to stay healthy, or at least play a long NBA career. Moving on to another memorable Houston Rocket, let's talk about Yao Ming. This man was a giant. He was 7'6", and I'm surprised he wasn't able to average a double-double in rebounds and points throughout his entirety of his career. Somehow he also made it into the NBA Hall of Fame. Yao Ming actually played all 82 games his first 2 seasons in the NBA, but then after that, he played 80, then 57, then 48, all because of a foot injury that ultimately ended his career. Only playing 7 seasons where he had more than 48 games played. At 29 years old, Yao Ming missed the entirety of the 2009 and 2010 NBA season with the foot injury, only to come back the following year to play 5 games and then get injured again, retiring from the NBA at the age of 30. It would have been nice to be able to see Yao Ming and T-Mac play a lot more games than they actually did play when they were together on the Houston Rockets, but injuries made that nearly impossible. Let's move on to another big man, and that big man is Greg Oden of the Portland Trail Blazers. The man who was drafted first overall in the 2007 NBA draft above a guy like Kevin Durant, only to miss the entirety of the 2007 and 2008 NBA season with having microfracture surgery on his right knee. In his first season, he was only able to play 61 games, and in his second season, that's when it all went wrong. He played 21 games and then messed up his knee again. On the court, he looked like he could develop into a nice solid NBA big, but off the court, he had alcohol problems and was waived by the Portland Trail Blazers after the injury, making him miss 3 years in the NBA to play in China, and then coming back in the 2013 and 2014 season to play with the Miami Heat for 23 games, making it to the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, Greg Oden has been through a lot, with naked pictures of him surfacing on the internet, him hitting his ex-girlfriend, and being proclaimed as one of the biggest busts in NBA history. I just used naked and bust in the same sentence. At least now he's back at Ohio State University getting his degree and being a student assistant coach. Moving on to another Portland Trail Blazer, Brandon Roy. He was by far my most favorite player to watch in the NBA, and probably, as of right now, of all time. You know, even at that shooting guard position when you got greats like Kobe and Jordan, he was just fun to watch for me. And it really sucks considering we only got 5 years to see how great Brandon Roy could have been. He retired at the age of 27 because of knee problems. He came back, played 5 games with the Minnesota Timberwolves, then retired again just because this man's knees are not right. He's only 32 years old as of 2017, so he could have still been in the NBA getting buckets, going down as one of the better 2 guards in the league. But then the Blazers probably wouldn't have Damian Lillard if he was healthy. Now Brandon Roy is one of the top high school head coaches in the country. And he said himself he wants to be remembered as a coach rather than a basketball player. So it's going to take some time for me to get used to that. But maybe one day we'll see Brandon Roy back in the NBA as an assistant or head coach to the Blazers or any other NBA team. A class act that shields children from gunfire. How could you not like this guy? Lastly, let's talk about somebody current. And let's talk about Derrick Rose. A lot of you guys wanted me to talk about him in a video I did of players that peaked too early. And I guess Derrick Rose can be categorized as a player who peaked too early, considering he was one of the youngest MVPs in NBA history, but it's really more of an injury thing that derailed his career. This man is the definition of unlucky when it comes to injuries. In 2011 and 2012, he tears his ACL. In 2013 and 2014, he tears his meniscus. Then, the following year, he tears his meniscus again in the same knee. missing the entire 2012-2013 season, only playing 10 games in the following season after that, and then his most recent knee injury causing him to only play 64 games as a New York Knick and being injured as a free agent. This is when people started to say Derrick Rose is returning back to MVP, all-star caliber form. Injuries after injuries have derailed this man's career, and he's 28 years old. I don't know how much longer Derrick Rose can continue to play the way he has been playing. He plays ultra aggressive, very explosive, and I feel like he puts a lot of pressures on his knees, or at least he did at one point. I'd hope to be able to see Derrick Rose come back from the injuries and have a long NBA career like a guy like Grant Hill was able to have, but the way it's looking right now, I don't feel like Derrick Rose will ever be back to his MVP caliber form, and I don't think he has to. At this point in his career, hopefully he knows his role, and hopefully he knows that he doesn't have to be the guy anymore. Just put up solid numbers. Be a starter on a bad team, or be a bench player on a good team. And if the injuries continue to bother him, he might be out of the league sooner rather than later, and could possibly be one of the first MVPs in the NBA to not make it to the Hall of Fame. But that's a story only time can tell, and hopefully I'm wrong about that. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. Check out some of the other videos similar to this type of video, along with following me on Twitter at Envyerz. The link is in the description. It allows you to keep up to date with me, what I'm working on. Let's talk about basketball, video games, music, etc. Hope to see you guys there. I'll talk to you guys later.